Electrocast.
Don't you love it when things are both easier and more affordable? Like when the rain washes your car for you. Or like when you save up to 10% by bundling your renters and auto insurance with USAA. Bundle with USAA and start saving. Get a quote today.
At the Hyundai Getaway Sales Event, get deals so right, it almost feels wrong. Now's the best time to get that Hyundai you've always wanted. Plus, every new Hyundai comes with America's best warranty and 3 years or 36,000 miles of limited complimentary maintenance. Don't think you can get away with all that? Think again. The Hyundai Getaway Sales Event. Visit your local Hyundai dealer today. It's a great day for a new Hyundai.
Hold on to your butts.
We are changing the course of history as we see it. That is what Wesley demands.
Now this affects Iris. Iris, where are you?
What you feel only matters to you. I do not entertain hypotheticals. The world as it is vexing enough.
Iris, I have a tip for you.
Don't take drugs!
Or whatever movies with Wesley and Iris.
What up and welcome to Or Whatever Movies. I'm your co-host Iris, and I'm here with my older brother,
Wesley,
who recommended that we include the movie in question today. Because why?
You tell me.
Well, you wanted to discuss, in addition to teacherness, its super dated and inappropriateness.
Did it feel like appropriate 1987? Or are you talking about the movie making?
The movie making is relatively timeless, and it seems like the filmmaking itself really stays out of the way of the story. It's more the lead character, as played by Morgan Freeman, Principal Joe Clark's behavior that really stuck out to me in the viewing of Lean On Me.
The vest, the bullhorn, his posture, or just his utter disregard for political correctness or values or sensitivity to students' issues?
A, B, C, D, E, F, G, Z, all of the above?
God, because I thought you were just talking about hairstyles and acid-wash jeans.
Morgan Freeman rocks a pretty epic afro at the top of Lean On Me. And then I have to give the hairstyle award to Kid Ray because, wow, that mullet, also epic.
You got to look the part. These kids don't understand that.
And they all give each other 5. What happened to Kid Ray? I thought he was going to come back for sure.
Joe Clark let him die. He said, in no uncertain terms, you'll be dead in a year. And then he left.
And then presumably died?
Right. But you can't save a hoe. Kid Ray was on a bad track. He was allowed to stay, chose not to stay, left school of his own volition, gonna die. He didn't have what it takes. He was no Thomas Sams.
But he wasn't hardened. He was a jovial, likable kid.
Yeah. By that you mean dumb. He was a dumb kid because kids are idiots.
You know, I feel like that's the theme, at least yours, for Teacher Month here at Or Whatever Movies. Is that the case, Wes, or am I reading this wrong?
Well, when does your brain finish fully developing? Is it 17, something like that? Or is it 21? I forget which one is brain and which one is penis.
Ew. For dudes, it's literally 26 or 28.
There you go. No hope whatsoever for even the class president who knocked up Kenesha. High schoolers need direction and authority because they have no hope of figuring things out on their own.
At least as portrayed in Lean On Me, right? These are kids who lack support, lack structure, lack discipline, and need it. And find those things in spades in Joe Clark.
Did you note the sign in the background, the Malcolm X sign, during that very telling 1960s scene that said, by any means necessary?
No.
A point he later reiterates when he has his bullhorn or whatever. They were there's only one guy who can possibly turn this around. It was very Anton Chigurh. He was the one right tool. He was a very blunt tool, but effective. Maybe Anton Chigurh, No Country for Old Men, was the only one who could have retrieved the money from some very wily cowboys. Maybe Joe Clark is the only person who could have turned East Side High around, for better or worse.
Okay, so does that condone his behavior?
I don't know. Does it? Kelly Ray asked, are we supposed to be rooting for him?
exactly my question. Thank you, Kelly Ray. Are we? Were we?
I don't know if it matters because he can't be the good guy to the bad kids. I mean, do you case by case basis turn them around? Can you stop the rot on one bad apple in the barrel? Or do you simply, as he called it, expurgate them?
I don't know how much they cost, but there were a lot of 10 cent, 20 cent, 50 cent words used in Lean On Me.
I don't know. How do you assign like nominal values
A value.
to a word?
Yes, he gets rid of them, right? That's the fell swoop right at the top that sets the tone not only of his assembly, but of his rule at Eastside High. And it's a fairly effective reset, right? And then he follows it up with all of his kind of other antics and power plays and stuff like that. And yes, he ultimately is effective. Lean On Me is ultimately a success story because they achieve the goal that's set out almost immediately in the story to bring up these test scores. And it's weird because it's also this political movie where, you know, the mayor's campaign or re-election or whatever rides on Joe Clark's success, but really it's about the strength of character necessary to achieve certain goals and, to me, whether or not those means are justified.
We see a happy ending within the specific purview of this movie as presented to us. We don't know what happened to Air Force knife-wielding Kid. We don't know what happened to Kid Ray. We don't know what happened to all the other people, the only exception being Sam's. And we didn't even see what happened to Joe Clark. You know, obviously this is based on a real story. There is a real Joe Clark who was faithfully represented, at least, you know, dramatically presented, but down to the megaphone and the baseball bat and the posture and the little vests. Real Joe Clark, but the real Joe Clark had 2 or 3 kids and was married, like actively married, so he had something to lose. When Napier confronts him and says, "Your life hasn't made one bit of difference, take that to your grave." Is Morgan Freeman's Joe Clark, is it because he can put himself in harm's way because those kids are his kids and he literally has nothing to lose? It's them and him or nothing?
Yeah, you know, we don't get anything of Joe Clark's personal life. And I took his conversation with Dr. Napier to be true as the confirmation of that. Like, you don't have anything else going on. My life hasn't amounted to anything. This is our opportunity to make a difference. And maybe that was important for the dramatic structure of Lean On Me.
I think so. Keep it tight, keep it focused. Remember when he demoted Mr. Darnell from football coach? I'm tired of seeing us pushed around. I guess in real life, the football team started to improve, but we didn't see any of that. All the sports stuff after that was pretty much dropped.
You know, I think we're seeing a lot of bluster in our political climate right now. And some people see that the bull in the china shop approach, you know, is really effective and is a big wake-up call like it was here at Eastside High. But some people also see it as being unnecessarily destructive and disruptive when there are other ways to achieve the same ends.
Man, are you saying that Mrs. Barrett was right? And also, I thought you said this movie was dated. It doesn't sound like it's dated. It seems like its themes are timely and relevant.
That's interesting. Interesting, because dated suggests that it's outdated or outmoded, but it's certainly the performance a la mode right now of people in charge. Listen, I don't want to make this political, so I'll just say that Joe Clark rubbed me the wrong way. I didn't root for him. And though he was sympathetic in some ways, and though I did see him soften, learn, evolve as a character over the course of the film, in the end, I was like, woof, drama.
In the end, really? By the end, he was just a little bit too, all I have to do is stay black and die for you?
I mean, did you buy it when he's got his arm around Mrs. Powers and is singing Lean On Me? Did you buy that? Or was that all a part of the front?
And that's why we're discussing teacher movies at Or Whatever Movies as opposed to actual teachers. You know, Teacher Month is actually October. We're doing it in April. But I've never understood this connection between students and teachers. By the time I was in a place where I could appreciate what a single teacher was bringing to my life, using their knowledge, their intellect, by by incorporating the lessons that they were teaching and how to apply those to their lives, to my life. I was way older than these kids were. The fact that the entire school would turn out to chant to save Mr. Clark, so much so that the police were going to show up and start cracking heads, I never understood that level of devotion. Yes, he touched some students very specifically and helped them out. He had people behind him because he got the required 65% to pass the minimum basic skills test. I guess that got them on his side, but enough to potentially incite a riot. So did I buy it? Not necessarily. It's a movie. What I think you're talking about is if it would fly that he would be the hero when he's so obviously the villain. My biggest sticking point is Mrs. Elliot, who is the clearest indication that he fully oversteps. The music teacher.
When they have their exchange where he's like, teach them the school song, and she's like, I'm teaching them Mozart.
It was a difficult part. She is, despite her resting bitch face, is absolutely reasonable. And that scene is what elicited the first of many big sighs from Kelly Ray on my right. He was wrong. It sucked for those kids to lose that opportunity.
Yeah, she was like they said that she was a really effective teacher, one of the best, if not the best.
Right. And we never got resolve on her either. She probably married Kid Ray and took him to Radio City Music Hall or whatever and saved him from death. I have no idea.
So she was right, but also Joe Clark was right in a Joe Clark kind of way. By promoting Mrs. Powers, she seemed to take on the mantle of music at Eastside High. She rearranged the Eastside High anthem. She obviously trained that quartet or whatever of singers. So basically, Mrs. Powers was the right tool for Joe Clark. So even if what he did was wrong or unreasonable, is it just subjective? I guess is what I'm asking.
Well, it opens up a can of worms that I'm a little bit afraid to look in. Miss Levias is his steady second. She is acting principal once he gets carted off to the slammer. She was holding on by the merest of threads and finally snaps on him, and that seems to be the scene that most people enjoy because she was the quiet, strong one who understood what he was trying to do and still reached her breaking point to where she insisted on being transferred or whatever, but... Is it a black thing that Mrs. Powers succeeded to the position of primary music teacher? Miss Levias being black. Was it super awkward for you when he made the white children stand up and made kind of an example of them? Was it
demonstrating that they couldn't sing?
No, not, I mean, all my white students stand up. These are my white kids. They're the same as you or whatever. I wondered if that, because I think that was Joe Clark's approach, the actual Joe Clark. You know that Bill Cosby was actually up for this role? They approached him in part of the line of people. But then again, so was Eddie Murphy, so was Danny Glover. But there was something when he was Dr. Bill Cosby, before all of the stuff happened, when he was America's dad. He wasn't all that different. He would walk around and saying, all these kids with the sagging pants need to pull your pants up. And people criticized him for speaking out against his race. Like he wasn't as culturally sensitive to his culture as people felt maybe he should be. Hey, these are black kids. Don't crap on black kids for their the style of, how they wear their pants. There was some level of that personal perspective from Joe Clark that was interesting to consider.
This episode is brought to you by Loom by Atlassian. Are you feeling stuck at work? Get your team unstuck with Loom video messaging and move work forward. Use Loom to simultaneously record both your screen and yourself to share a quick update, provide feedback, train a colleague, and everything in between. Plus, add Loom AI to your meetings for instant written notes and recordings. Try Loom today at Loom.com. That's LOOM.com.
This episode is brought to you by GM Genuine Parts and AC Delco. Get the most out of your vehicle with GM Genuine Parts and AC Delco original equipment. The only parts designed, engineered, tested, and backed by General Motors. You can find your perfect fit for most makes and models and choose from 3 tiers of parts, including GM OE or gold and silver aftermarket parts. Visit gmparts.com for more information.
I don't think you're saying that there were racial alliances in Lean On Me.
There was much talk between him and Napier about the HNIC and like trying to keep our people down, or so. There were undertones, and I think I figured that, I mean, there's really no place for us to go down this road, because if it was, maybe it was a nod to the actual Joe Clark. But did you note who directed this movie? If there's anybody who can delve into other cultures for this kind of movie, this time and place, it's your boy.
Karate Kid?
And 2, and 3, and Rocky.
Whoa. 1984, 1976, Lean On Me being 1989. So well after he's established himself with these iconic films.
Yep.
So tell me, what was he saying?
I don't know.
Lean On Me?
I think he was taking difficult subject matter, right? This is a person who was very polarizing in his approach, both on the screen and in real life.
Joe Clark was polarizing?
Yeah. There was a lot of opportunity to misstep, to misrepresent. For maybe this is why it feels dated, because it would have been different. His racial identity in 1987, being that he was seemingly active in his community in 1967, may have resonated differently than it does now. But he had something to say, and he said it primarily to other black faculty members, not Mr. Darnell, who he crapped on at every occasion. But I feel like there was something there. Like I said, I don't think there's any place for us to go. I just detected notes of racial discord, especially when he pointed out the white students, when the Latino students were like, Mr. Clark, why is everything about the black kids? It's all about the black kids and it's not about us. It was just touching on those themes.
Yeah, and maybe it's enough to just bring them up. Because in the case of the Latinas who approach him, he's like, all right, go wait for me in my office and we're going to deal specifically with your concerns. We never see resolution to that either, but it made it into the story, right? It was enough to kind of bring it up. It seemed like there was a real spirit of we're in this together from Joe Clark, regardless of class or race.
That's how it was meant to be presented. Did not the Latina student say to him, I'm not ashamed of my baby, when he tries to baby shame her?
Does he try and baby shame her?
When are you girls going to learn? And she's like, Mr. Clark, I'm not going to be ashamed of my baby, and she's not ashamed of me.
Right. In reference to the fact that her baby was calling her while she was at school?
She was checking in on the baby.
Yeah.
But that was another big sigh from Kelly Ray. She made a
baby shaming?
She made a disgusted noise when he decided to chain and lock the doors. She's like, that's a fire code violation.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. But the biggest noise from Kelly Ray was when he muffin shamed Sam's. He said, stop eating all those muffins. Eat some vegetables. Not the most delicate.
Well, I mean, if you want to talk about Sam's, how about go ahead, throw yourself off the roof?
Look, man, that's what tough love is. Tough love is not gentle love. You can't be easy on these kids. Kids are idiots.
Oh my God. And therein that lies the drama of Lean On Me, right? There's every time Joe Clark walked into a room, I'm bracing myself for inappropriateness. Every time he kissed a forehead or hugged a student, I was like, ugh.
Wait, he told that one girl, you're looking mighty good today. Gonna have to warn these boys. Keep these boys away from you.
I know. And maybe, are we such helicopter parents? Like, have we become so uptight and scared about obviously as indicated by like our obsession with bullying and things that we would have considered to be part of childhood and during our upbringing, I think that there's a big part of me being overly sensitive when it comes to Joe Clark's character.
Joe Clark gets stuff done. And I don't think he has to be a correctly morally positioned piston for that to happen. He's got his opinions that are controversial. They didn't tell the whole story of the real Joe Clark, who was fired by Dr. Napier for an assembly where high school girls stripped down to their underwear and their G-strings, which he claims he didn't know anything about. There were other, aspects that are controversial that weren't represented because this is a John G. Avildsen family film, happy ending kind of film. There are harder teacher movies, but we're examining this one because of the questions it raises about his methodology. But he felt that the kids were wrong and dumb, and you're just a baby and you don't know shit, and you're a baby bringing babies into this world just to prove that you can accomplish something. And it's like, ooh, he got rid of 200 students, expurgated them expeditiously.
Yes.
For a couple thousand that graduated that had an opportunity.
The other 2,700, yeah.
Right. Is it just slapping a coat of paint on the walls that helps the school pass muster as a nice school that deserves district funding or whatever? Or did he really make a difference in these kids' lives?
I think he did. It's all the things. It's a cumulative effect. The clean walls, yes. The respectability that it fosters, but also the fact that the kids were a big part of the cleanup. They're out there and they're painting and they're taking responsibility, taking care of their own institution. He's getting them invested in the care of their institution. The expurgating was his defining moment in setting the tone for what his otherwise pretty authoritarian rule was going to look like. Don't mess around because there are going to be consequences. This is a new order and, kind of get in line. And what the kids kind of slowly realize is that this is what they didn't know they needed, the structure, the consequences. These are all healthy things for developing minds.
Yeah, giving kids direction. And the problem wasn't just the opportunistic students who would have taken advantage of his school and run it into the ground. But it seems like also complacent teachers. Not all of them, but there were 300 teachers on the faculty. There's no way that was for that one school, right?
Maybe it's teachers and administration?
Somebody was dropping the ball, and obviously responsibility rests with the adults in this case. Do you think Reverend Slappy deserved to be made head custodian? Because there was graffiti in the teacher's lounge. Why was there graffiti in the teacher's lounge?
Well, it's just to show how far the vice had spread. It was the same thing with the coaching situation, right? He was saying the current head coach and the current head janitor are not cutting it. Therefore, we are promoting the second in command and giving them an opportunity to prove themselves, right? It's all about shaking things up. If I let go for a week, then I'm so behind the mess that the girls make. It will take me 2 weeks plus to catch up. You just can't let them get ahead because then you're just demoralized because there's no possible way to keep up with the mess that kids make unless you are consistently, persistently on it.
Not enough just to be there, but you have to actively engage lest things get out of control. And I think and
it gets out of control fast.
It seems like double the effort to get it back under control than if you had simply prevented it from in the first place?
Yes, exactly. If you let it go too far, then it's like, all right, we do have to create a whole new structure to get back to a place of control. Do you have any insight on Morgan Freeman's approach to this character? I know you said that there were some really well-known actors being considered for this role. He does seem uniquely suited. He can be authoritative, he can be intimidating, and intelligent, but he also can be, I don't know.
The Sam Jackson of his day.
Yeah.
He can be all yelly and scary, but also, yeah, like you said, intelligent and tender-hearted.
He is so yelly and scary, and then and with the megaphone just being an extension of his hand, I was like, whoa, He does not let out. He's like full gas the entire film.
Morgan Freeman's, get ready for this, first feature leading role.
What?
He had been in stuff, and then all of a sudden he was Joe Clark in his first leading man role where it's really all about him. He's authoritative and he's great. He's got real charisma and presence. He's always been a dynamic actor and really fun for me. My second favorite Morgan Freeman-goes-to-prison movie.
Second, of course, to the Shawshank Redemption.
Yep. It's a lot and maybe was necessary. Maybe Morgan Freeman got his kind of big lucky break and was like, I gotta sell it. And boy, did he. A unique performance, I think, in his body of work. Because I think he's known for the really calm, laid-back, hyper-intelligent God figure, right?
Yeah.
The wise man.
This definitely makes me think about Lean on Me differently. If you think about this being Morgan Freeman's big break, then it feels like an important movie. I'm like, whoa, this came out of left field. Yeah, so I guess I was looking for that context.
Teacher Month, all about unconventional means. And the key to this movie is the line. Does he step over the line in order to affect his version of salvation for these kids? I think 100%. Definitely crosses the line into too much, into pseudo-abusive territory. But the line is also there for the kids who need to walk that line in order to stay. I mean, what would have been the consequences if they hadn't passed minimum? It was the mayor's thing, but would they have shut down the school? What would have happened?
Well, aside from the kids like not having a future kind of a thing, it sounds like, yeah, they would have shut down the school. And I guess that's what it really comes down to for Lean on Me, for me. Was he acting in the kids' best interest? Regardless of test scores, regardless of the, state of the school or even the lives and careers of the teachers. Like, was he doing right by the kids?
Make sure his personal battle is justified and make sure that it doesn't cost them the war. They brought him in at the last minute in a last-ditch attempt to keep it from going so far over the line that Eastside couldn't be brought back to right.
And I think that's where his heart was and is the entire film. He's there to do his best to give these kids a chance. Now, were they a little Stockholm syndrome-y? Like,
Munchausen syndrome.
Did they stop? Had they become so accustomed to the abuse that they actually started to need it and appreciate it? Maybe. Were his methods unorthodox, even inappropriate? Yes. At the very least, as indicated by his blatant violations of fire code. But to him, and perhaps to some, and perhaps to many, the ends do justify the means. It's just subjectivity is how we get there. You may not like it, but, buckle up. You're in for another 4 years of it. And by that, I mean high school.
And for the purposes of the movie, 2 hours isn't that long to be buckled in. We probably knew it was going to a safe place. We needed somebody to lean on or whatever. We knew that it wasn't going to go crazy. I mean, you didn't think he was going to die or anything, or that Switchblade Air Force kid was coming back, did you?
Nope, but that was important to know that Joe Clark can hang.
And yeah, with that left hook or right hook or whatever it was. And we saw the montage, the very Cool Runnings Rise Above It. In this case, Everybody is Somebody montage. And you knew, I think, what kind of movie this was, even though most of the time it didn't play as that movie.
And do you stand by Lean on Me?
As a movie, it does feel dated and it feels like there's some tropes, but maybe the same kind of tropes that John G. Avildsen set up. I mean, at the end, for goodness sake, we freeze frame on the smiling face of the difficult, misunderstood, wise, gray-haired teacher man after his beleaguered high school students, in this case multiple students, triumph in a state contest. Come on, how Karate Kid is that? This movie, the performance feels good even when it's bad. wanted to talk about it because it's so polarizing and yet ultimately successful. And the marker of that success is a very easy and clear one. It's the state proficiency test, minimum basic skills. He's setting the world up for success that we don't see, because success in this case is just getting it to a manageable state, which I think all teaching and all parenting is.
I mean, it's a super dynamic performance by Morgan Freeman. I wouldn't say it was a complicated performance, but the Joe Clark character was complicated, controversial, but he achieved at least what the filmmakers want us to believe was success. Dude, teachers are important and complicated. That's my takeaway for Teacher Month.
I can't help it. I like the movie. I like the performance. The actual Joe Clark, when he goes down in the history books, all the controversy, all the hurt feelings, the victors are the ones who are remembered by history or whatever. And the fact that he turned the school around and that this movie portrays him as a loving and beloved administrator, that's enough to get me on his side and an effective tool in the end. And maybe that's all you need. All right movie with a personal asterisk of affection that maybe I alone maintain for this movie.
So then I'm glad we covered it. And it's these types of movie favorites that not only set our theme month discussions apart, but also set Or Whatever Movies apart. So we hope you enjoyed this discussion and that you're enjoying Teacher Month here at Or Whatever Movies, orwhatevermovies.com. And if you have an inspirational teacher, let us know, 818-835-0473 or whatevermovies@gmail.com. And thanks for listening.
Why is it that games make us feel so good or completely rage quit? These emotions we feel are mostly not an accident. People like me designed them. I'm Chris Cross, and this is Brain Arcade, a podcast all about the psychology of game design and why games hit us so hard. Each week, I bring on a new guest, designers, psychologists, storytellers, to break it all down with me. If you play, design, or just love games, follow now.
Electricast. Hi, I'm Sherilyn Fenn from Twin Peaks. What did you do on your last Saturday night?
Did you hear something?
Toilet paper.
There's none. Nada. The reserves have gone dry. People are hoarding it. I should have done that.
They're all out of hand sanitizer at my Target.
Mark, when did you last watch the news?
We are getting reports of forced quarantines in China, Japan, and now Italy.
You're cutting onions in half and putting them around your apartment.
Yes, exactly. It kills the COVID.
Excuse me?
Let's go. Let's go. Get in.
Vamos, rápido.
Have you ever driven one of these?
Never.
I'll drive, ladies.
I've got the keys.
Excuse me, I'm lost. I'm looking for my wife. I got turned around.
Join me, Eric Roberts, Jennifer Elise Cox, and Ed Asner for The Last Saturday Night, an Electricast podcast. You'll love it.
Electricast.